He's the greatest coach of all time. I've said that over and over and over. A guy to be able to do what he's done in an era of basketball where it's changed so much, and he's been able to have a growth mindset and be able to change with the game. You know, it went from a league where it was like inside, outside. Like every time you bring the ball down, throw it to the big. You know, and then it goes to like every time down, pick and roll. And then it goes to like every time down, shoot a three. And Pop has been able to adjust every single time and still, for some odd reason, keep those guys under the radar. I don't understand that.
LeBron James calling Gregg Popovich the greatest coach of all time as he prepares to play against him for the 24th time in the regular season. That would be on Saturday night, including the playoffs. King James is 18-21 against Pop, with 11 of those losses coming in the postseason. Stephen A., what's he trying to say here, LeBron?
Well, first of all, what he did say was absolutely correct in my estimation. I think Gregg Popovich is the greatest that I've ever seen because of the three categories that LeBron highlighted in terms of how the game has changed and evolved, and yet he's still been able to get it done while flying under the radar, while having some players elevate their level of play. And the way they stand by him and support him and swear by him is something that rare coaches have. I think, but ultimately what LeBron James wanted to say is that all of this talk about Phil Jackson being the greatest because of his 11 rings, folks don't know what the hell they're talking about. Because when has Phil Jackson had to make that adjustment? You got Phil with Jordan and Pippen. You got Phil with Shaq and Kobe. Then you got Phil with Kobe, with Gasol and Bynum and the crew. And each time the triangle was about the focus. And so now he goes from being a coach to an executive. And Phil insists on incorporating the triangle, all right? Coaching from the stands, per se. Trying to implement and employ a system he wholeheartedly believes in, without willing to adjust to the degree that a Gregg Popovich and others have proven they're willing to adjust to. And when you combine that with the fact that one of LeBron's best friends is Carmelo, who's suffering under that stewardship of Phil Jackson, combined with the fact that Phil Jackson just annoyed LeBron a few months ago, with the posse comment and all of this other stuff, it is LeBron James' slick and subtle and very skillful way of highlighting who truly, truly deserves to be revered as the greatest this game has known. And his name ain't Phil Jackson. That's what LeBron was saying, in my humble opinion.
Look, it's Tim Duncan. LeBron James said exactly what he wanted to say, and it was exactly on the money about Gregg Popovich, whether or not you believe he's the greatest of all time. Let's take the post-Red Auerbach era, right? Like, let's take the modern NBA. Whether you take the modern NBA to mean the absorption of the ABA teams, late 70s, or the adoption of the three-point shot, the 80s, the modern NBA, we all know what we're talking about, which has also changed over time. You can see it as the Bird Magic era ushering that in. That's fine. And Michael Jordan is the height of that. And this new era as a renaissance or a new height in terms of the level of talent we're seeing. Over the last 20 years, almost 18 years, I guess, nearly 2 decades, the Spurs are over 500 on the road. On the road. Think about that for a second. Almost 2 decades like that. And LeBron hit it on the head. Inside out. Whatever. Popovich talked about the fact that he doesn't like the three-point shot, but he saw what D'Antoni was doing, which if the league adjusts and you don't adjust that, just is kind of a parlor trick. And Popovich incorporated those ideas and uses them better than anybody else. Whether it's inside out, whether it's you got 4 out, however you want to play, spread it out. He's always able to somehow adjust to the roster, a couple of bigs, only one big left. No, now you got guards, or your best player is a small forward. He's able to adjust to the rules changes, and he's installed a kind of organizational fluidity and excellence, empowering those around him to make decisions, delegating authority, and yet also always in control of the culture or setting a tone for the culture. And he's done all this, as I mentioned several months ago, as a mensch. He does all of it in a kind of a righteous way that you love. It's kind of like the argument we make, Stephen A., or I talk about Bill Belichick is the greatest coach in the NFL, probably history. But if I were a player, I'd want to play for Mike Tomlin. Popovich is like Bill Belichick and Mike Tomlin. And LeBron, I think, identified what's so strong about him, and whether or not he's the greatest of all time in the modern era, boy, it's tough to beat Gregg Popovich.
Well, it's tough to beat him, and LeBron would know that better than anybody. He's faced him in the finals 3 times. He's lost to him twice. He beat him once, and Ray Allen came and saved the day in that Game 6 with that 3-pointer that ultimately saved the day, pushed it into overtime, and they ultimately were able to survive and ultimately win Game 7. But, you know, it's just everything. I mean, working with him in 2004 when they won bronze and Larry Brown was the head coach and Gregg Popovich was an assistant coach for Team USA, you know, despite his acerbic tendencies towards the media because of having to do the interviews that he has to do, that he hates to do and whatever, Gregg Popovich is a very, very good man. And anybody that's around him, that's been around him, knows that. I know that I know it because I've had the pleasure of talking with him on several occasions in the past because of the relationship that he's had with Larry Brown and the affection that we both have for the great Larry Brown. But Gregg Popovich just has this thing about him, man, where in today's day and age, Max, with the advent of social media, how invasive, the world is. Gregg Popovich is like a force field, a shield for players and those around him because he lets you get in, but only so much. He's unapologetic about it. He's dogged in his protection of his own privacy and that of the players and the organization that he represents and everybody in between. And players have no choice but to respect that. And they revere this man as well they should because he's not doing it just because it's his job. He's doing it because he knows it's the right thing to do, and that's what they respect about him.
We also all know, I hope, how great Tim Duncan is. But even as Tim Duncan aged, and they no longer really had a top 10 player, you know, he's never had a guy like LeBron James. And I know there's a debate now, who's better, Duncan or Kobe? At his best, we don't have to argue it, and I think we're on the same page. Kobe was a special kind of different level of talent, but he's never had a guy like that. Never a Kobe, never a LeBron. And as great as Duncan was, never a force quite like Shaquille O'Neal or something like that. And yet he's a perennial powerhouse and a 5-time NBA champion. You can't say enough good things about Popovich, and LeBron identified many of them.
Just also remember that Tim Duncan's the greatest power forward that ever lived.
One of the greatest centers, too. One of the greatest centers, too. Sure.
Yeah, he's Mr. Fundamental. Just do it.
Straight drop, looks left, pump, throws, Jones at the 10, 5, and he'll score. Handed to Freeman again. Devontae breaks away from one, keeps his feet, scores, touchdown Atlanta. And Matt moves left, gonna throw, wide open, caught, touchdown, Tevin Coleman. Wilson to throw, Falcons trying to get there, now in trouble, Hennessy throws, put it up for grabs, and it's intercepted. Atlanta goes on to the NFC title game.
It's going down in the ATL. Joining us now is rapper, songwriter, actor, and producer, best known for being a member of Outkast. We welcome 6-time Grammy-winning artist, Atlanta's own Big Boy, to First Take. Thank you so much for being with us.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon. Thank you smelling much. How y'all doing?
We're good. We're really good. Let's get right into it, Big Boy. What do your Falcons need to do to get the dub this weekend?
I mean, it's simple, man. They just got to keep spreading the ball around like we've been doing. One thing is for sure, I was at the game last week, and the crowd, you know, Atlanta came out, that dome was rocking, man. So, you know, once the fans get involved, and, you know, we already got weapons for days, we just got to keep spreading the ball around. And then, you know, if they try to stop that, then we're going to go to the two-headed monster, to the running game all day.
So let me get this straight, Big Boy. It's always good to see you, even though you've been in hibernation. I think you've been hiding a little bit this year. I question how much faith you had in your Falcons. How surprised are you, if at all, by the season they have had?
I'm really not that surprised. I mean, I've been, you know, watching them from the get-go, and, you know, we got off to a slow start, but, you know, we've been clicking, man. What everybody don't realize, including the postseason, we on a 5-game winning streak, but nobody really talking about that. You know, we just been doing numbers, putting up at least 30 points a game, averaging 30 points a game, and, you know.
Wait a minute. Aren't you the dude that I spoke to? I mean, it's about a year ago. I mean, you think I got a memory now. Aren't you the dude that I spoke to that told you told me, well, we don't really pay that much attention to the regular season because we've had success in the regular season in the past. What we got to do is get it done so we can get to that Super Bowl. Ain't that what you told me in the past?
And we still gonna get it done. We gonna get it done Sunday. I already got tickets and everything. I'm there. I was there last week when we sent Russell Wilson them home, and I'm gonna be there this week too, man. I mean, it's the energy in the city, man. I mean, it's like it's electrifying. You know, like the people here, man. Like this is the last chance to get some Georgia Dome, and everybody loves Dome.
Last season of the Georgia Dome.
Yeah, this is the last chance for some Dome. So, you know, everybody going to come out there and get that, and they're going to put on for the city, man. And our boys, we already beat them one time. I was at that game, and this time it should be, you know, a high-scoring game. I'm expecting a shootout, but, I mean, we got the bigger guns.
It is the last game at the Dome, as a matter of fact. Let me ask you this, big boy. It does seem to me that something is different about this Falcons team than Falcons teams of the past. I see why Falcons fans feel more optimistic than they have in the past, where, let's face it, you come up short when you, like the step right before the Super Bowl, you know, time and again when you've even made it that far. What is different? Can you articulate that this season? What is different about this team?
I think, for one, the team morale, and we just got weapons for days. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have the receivers. We got the two-headed monster, the running backs. We got Coleman and Freeman. And I think, you know, the esteem and the confidence of the team and the morale of the city in general, like, you know, the Falcons, the city got the Falcons on their back, so we going to tote them all the way to the bowl game, for sure.
You know what? I'm thinking about Matt Ryan, and we were debating Matt Ryan earlier in the show because both Max and I have to agree. We make the argument that Aaron Rodgers has already established himself in his greatness, big boy. The pressure is really on Matt Ryan, and I think it's because of all the weapons that you talked about him having. Devontae Freeman, Tevin Coleman, Julio Jones, Mohamed Sanu, and the crew. He's got to show up in this game. Do you feel the same way? And if so, is there any trepidation on your part that he may or may not show up? We talk about Matt Ryan here.
I think he's going to show up. I mean, one thing, too, that's been an X factor has been the center, you know, Mack from Cleveland. We got a little bit more protection, got a little bit more time. And I've seen Matt Ryan, he's just more poised, you know what I mean, not a lot of panicking because he got so many targets. And so, you know, he spread the ball around to, you know, at least 5, 6, 7 different receivers a game. So I think we're going to take advantage of that.
By the way, I've heard you say absolutely positively nothing about Atlanta's defense. Absolutely nothing. Why is that, big boy? Why?
Well, the defense is what the defense is. You know what I mean? They show up and make big plays, you know, but right now we talk about the high-powered offense. I mean, our defense, we got, I mean, a little defense. Vic Beasley still, you know, I think, top 2 or 3 sack leaders in this year in the league.
15 and a half.
Yeah, yep. That's right. Keanu Neal and them boys. I mean, so we got some headhunters out there. And it's a balance. But, you know, our main thing is we some gunslingers out here, man. So it's going to be a straight-up shootout.
As a Falcons fan, I'm sure that the Seattle game said something to you. It did for me because I'm always looking at this team like, yeah, but in the moment of truth, I don't trust, at least not until last week, Matt Ryan. I don't trust this team. I think when the Seahawks start to put it to them, they've been there before. They can rely on that experience. The Falcons fold. They didn't. The Seattle saw if you guys were real, if the Falcons showed them that they are real, and it was actually Seattle who folded. And part of that was the defense. They've come around. In terms of the character of this team, is it simply a matter, you said they have more weapons, they're better now, or is there something else going on?
I think right now we clicking on all cylinders. You know, these boys hungry for it. They want it. Like you said, I mean, like the stars align. This is the last game in the Georgia Dome, you know. So we want to end it off in style and go on to Houston. You know, that's what we're going to do. And I mean, I believe if we get to Houston, we're going to get that trophy.
Well, forgive me for asking this question without getting specific because I don't get into people's personal business like that. But clearly the Falcons had a distraction. You know, they had Future on the sideline distracting Russell Wilson a little bit. What kind of distraction you think y'all going to try to pull out your hat for Aaron Rodgers? You ain't got something like that to throw at him.
I don't think it was a distraction. I think he's a friend of the team. He's from Atlanta. You know, he's Dungeon family. One time for the Dungeon family. And, you know, he wanted to enjoy the game like everybody else. You know, I mean, everybody was out there. You know, Bow Wow was out there, you know. I mean, one thing they didn't do, which I thought was classy, was they didn't play you know, a whole lot of future records, which they could have done that, you know what I mean? But they kept it classy and got it done.
Big boy, let me take that one a step further. After Matt Ryan obviously beat Russell Wilson, Future sent his son, obviously we know who lives with Russell Wilson, a Matt Ryan jersey. You think he took that too far?
That's his son. No, that's his son. I mean, Future from Atlanta, that's his son. Hey, I mean,
No, that's it. Yeah,
that's, I mean, we
there's no
win.
issue.
It's a win-win, baby.
No, I'm not going there, but I will ask you this. When you look at the Atlanta Falcons right now, get ready to go up against Aaron Rodgers. What do you expect from Aaron Rodgers on Sunday afternoon? We know what you expect from your Falcons. What do you expect from Aaron Rodgers?
I expect for him to be what you call him, that bad man that he is, you know, but I think Matt Ryan is going to be a little bit better, you know, with Jordy Nelson not being there, it's going to kind of be tight, you know what I'm saying? A little tight.
And Atlanta, the crowd will go wild as if Holyfield just won the fight, if you all win. Am I right or wrong?
What you know about that Spodio Dopalicious? Why? What's happening?
Gets a lot of burn in my car,
Okay,
big boy.
then.
Yeah.
You know what? It's real interesting because I must confess, y'all actually look like y'all got a home field advantage for a change. Back in the day, you know, everybody was migrating to Atlanta and stuff like that, rooting for the other team coming into town. But it really looked like y'all got an actual legitimate home field advantage now, big boy. I got to give y'all a little bit props for that. Just a little bit, just a little bit.
I think the city deserves it, man. You know, we've been behind this team for the longest, and you know, for them for things to get to where they are now. You know, the last game in the Georgia Dome, and you know, the team is on fire. We one game away from the Super Bowl. I just need the people in Atlanta because I was there last week, man, and it works. You have to make the loudest noise ever when the other team is on offense. Russell Wilson couldn't hear. He was panicking, patting players on the backside, trying to, you know what I'm saying, call signals, and they were just off kill. So I want to see that dome get louder. It was the loudest I ever heard it last week, but if we get loud this week and Matt Ryan just let that arm go, it's on.
Rise up, big boy, with the call to action. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the game.
Yeah. Hi, Mom.